check the countdown, my brother, God the win. And if your market say le, now God the win, no, now God the win, no, now God the win, no.
Welcome back. Before we start our conversation, let me just read out this tweet alert since we talked about Gates. Akindola Onidaya says, I think the entrance of Bill Gates into the country is the cause of all these gates we're experiencing in the country.
Far too many gates. I do agree with you. Now we're going to be looking at the new electricity tariff, the issues. If you recall, Labour called out its troops last week to protest against the increase in tariff, and in the course of the week it seemed to be one of the main talking points. We had opinions from one or two of the discos. Labour had something to say, and we have a representative of Labour in the studio with us this morning, and the people out there had things to say, even though we were hearing them in little sound bites here and there on Twitter, generally on social media. And they're asking, shouldn't the power companies give us the power first before they begin to increase tariff? But NEC says that they need money to be able to give us the power. So where do we stand? So there's a big question mark. I'd like to welcome the Chief Operating Officer, Momas Electricity Meter Manufacturing Company, MEMCOL, Mr. Kamar Oredola. Good morning. And thank you for joining us. Yes. And we have a Labour leader in the studio, our friend Joe Ajaero, who seems to just be causing trouble all over the country.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Ajaero. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
We heard you talking somewhere in the East this week.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's the way it should be.
Okay, now let's look at electricity. I know you have all kinds of labor issues right now, but specifically today we're talking about electricity. Now, you all called out your people in the course of the week. What exactly were your grouse or grouses?
Well, let me take a general outlook on the issues that took place last week. I will tell you that Labour seemed to be divided on that issue. The group I lead, didn't believe in going to the street, because we went to the street 5 years ago to fight cause. The other group went to the street today to fight effect. And it's good we look at the two issues. And I think some of you are equally informed on what took place in the last 5 years over the issue of privatization. That was what I fought against, because I knew that there are effects of privatization, and this tariff increase is one of them. Okay. The sack of thousands of workers in the sector is part of them. Those are some of the effects of privatization. So it will be wrong, and let me say it for the first time, for you to sell a company to a private man and expect him not to make profit. Clearly. At the point it was still with government, we can control the price modulation, and then still allow it to be a social service. The very moment an individual buys it, the motive is profit maximization. And you see, without prejudice to the constituency I represent, I have to say this, because I know, and even some of the people that led that protest who come from the health sector, nobody tells a doctor what to charge. And even when a patient dies, you must pay. So the issue of getting supply before you pay or not comes into the issue of what happens when you allow unfettered capitalism to be the order of the day. And that was what my colleagues did when some of us were fighting private. In fact, the former president of NLC and the serving governor, although he later confessed that he now knew I was right, said he doesn't mind if the 50,000 workers of PSN are sacked, provided there is privatization, because he thought we were making noise. So that has happened.
Yeah, but Joe, When you say that it's under government, you can control the price and all that, but under government, there is a level of inefficiency that is associated with the service.
Well, when you talk
The
of
people want power.
yeah,
Full
when you
stop.
talk of inefficiency, there is no efficiency. True, if efficiency is all about change of management. So now there's efficiency, and then you don't want to pay. Or because I needed to understand it, because you said under government there was inefficiency. If the power situation has improved, if the services you are receiving have improved by virtue of the fact that management has changed, and then you are being asked to pay for those services, then I don't think why we should complain.
No, the intention is that the services will improve.
It shouldn't be intention. If
under
people,
privatization.
if people who knew, and I want to say without boasting that some of us have been in the system, we have followed it all over the world, in fact, privatization of power sector, came out to say, for goodness sake, there must be what we call base power. And base power is what the state controls. Today, US controls 250,000 megawatts. And then you allow the private sector. So if Nigerian government is controlling that 4,000 they were generating, we can, and you say private sector go and generate millions of megawatts. We can talk of this. Now, but if you now transfer the same inefficiency, if you see it's inefficiency, to the private hand, now how will that turn to efficiency overnight? That's the question. So government could afford, to build a power plant and recoup its profit in the next 50 years. Because a private man cannot build a power plant and recoup it in less than 20 years. And you don't have any Nigerian investor who wants to recoup his investment after 25 years. So at what return on investment is he going to do it? So these are the realities on ground without sounding immodest.
Okay, so your problem is not, right now the situation is that consumers will pay for what they consume. You don't have a problem with that?
I don't have a problem with that. If consumers will pay for what they consume. But what is that they consume? Because even the pricing of gas today, consumers can't pay for it. As of today. And we were busy building gas power stations. The price of gas, if you charge consumers, the price of gas in Nigeria, they can't pay. But under state control, it's like, Nigerian gas company, give them gas.
Mr. Edola.
Thank you.
Right now that the tariff is gone up, that's not a problem.
No, it's not.
What's the situation on your end?
Thank you. Basically, I think the government did the right thing by increasing the tariff, because the operators, the discos, they've always been claiming that the tariff is not cost reflective. Therefore, they could not make the required investment to give us stable power supply. And when the new government came in, said, okay, fine, let's address this issue, and we'll task you with the challenge of providing stable power, stable power for the whole country. Now, for me, I don't think people are unwilling to pay the tariff. People want to pay for what they actually consume. That's the question. That's the key thing. And how do you ensure that?
Which is where your company comes in.
Exactly. How do you ensure that? You meter the company, you meter the consumers. Ensure that all the consumers are metered and people pay for what they consume. In this regard, you can decide to turn off your freezer in the night or not to off on your AC. Those are things that people are within people's control. What is most painful is when you are given an estimated bills that reflected what you did not consume. And that is what the consumers are actually against.
Mm-hmm. So why are there no meters for the consumers in Nigeria?
Let me make this very clear. We have local capacity to produce meters required by Nigerians. That is a fact, and it's been established by most players in the industry. I believe the major...
Sorry, you have local capacity to manufacture how many meters?
We can produce 50,000 meters in a month of various type of meters.
That's his company, no?
50,000. That's
Yes.
for your company.
That's for my company.
Because we had a member of the distributors, Electricity Distributors Association here, who said there's a deficit of about 5 million meters, and you meter manufacturing companies cannot meet that demand, because if the tariffs have to go as they are, then they will need meters for every home, and the local manufacturers cannot meet that demand because of capacity.
Let's be realistic. My company can produce 50,000 meters at one shift. That can be doubled if there is need for it. And that's just my company. And that translates to like 1.2 million in a year. Now, the question is...
I beg your pardon. So if you can do that, why are those who require it not giving you the contract to supply as much as you can, as much as your factory can produce?
Very good question. I would say the first issue, the first problem was the regulation, government policy. The past government did not do enough to actually compel all the discos to meter their customers. Number two, the discos, they have their own challenges.
Do the discos need to be compelled to meter? They want to collect money for the power they're giving. So how are they going to collect the money if they don't meter their customers?
Look, they have their own challenges. It has to do, number one, funding. Number two, then the peculiarity of our country, the consumers too. A lot of consumers bypass meter. That is a challenge to the discos.
Can these prepaid meters still be bypassed like the old meters?
No, not like the old meters, because it's actually equipped with a lot of tamper-proof devices. But they still believe, they have that mentality that, oh, if I meter customers, the tamper-proof might not be enough. We have proven that to them. That has been addressed.
I think there is something here. Which
another issue mainly is, they were making free money from estimated bills.
God bless.